going over to Turkey, where in Turkey they had two back-to-back school shootings.
At least 16 people are injured after an assailant opened fire at a high school in southeastern Turkey. Video footage shows dozens of students running out of the school and onto the street. Officials say the 18-year-old gunman, who was a former student of the school, was armed with a shotgun and fired randomly before killing himself. The motive for the attack remains unclear.
Bu sabah saatlerinde Siverek ilçemizde bulunan Ahmet Koyuncu Mesleki ve Teknik Anadolu Lisemizde saat 9:30 sularında.
Let's back that up a tad bit. So this morning at 9:30, a person born in 2007
Ahmet Koyuncu Mesleki ve Teknik Anadolu Lisemizde saat 9:30
entered a high school in the district.
sularında bir 2007 doğumlu bir kişinin pompalı av tüfeğiyle okula girmek suretiyle burada rastgele ateş açması neticesinde maalesef 16
4 teachers, 10 students, 1 police officer, and 1 canteen worker.
Kişi, bunlardan 4'ü öğretmenlerimiz, 10 öğrencimiz, bir polis memurumuz ve bir kantin işletmecisi yaralanmış durumda. Şükürler olsun can kaybı yok. 4 yaralımızın, 2 öğretmenimiz, 2 öğrencimizin sağlık durumunu biraz daha orta seviyede değerlendirdiği için hekimlerimiz il merkezindeki hastanelerimize sevk etmiş bulunuyoruz. Şahıs kendisi okul içerisinde polisimizin de müdahalesiyle sıkıştırıldı ve orada kendi canına kıymak suretiyle, ateş etmek suretiyle
Okay, so he took his own life.
hayatını kaybetti. Eks olarak ele geçirildi. Okulu tahliye ettik.
17-18 yaşlarında bir çocuktu. Birden şu dış kapıdan içeriye girdi. Nasıl girir girmez direkt silahı çekti. Uzun namluluydu. Hani şu şarjlı pompalar olur ya onlar. Direkt sağa sola ateş atmaya başladı. Sonra okula doğru ateş açtı. Sonra direkt koştuğu gibi içeriye girdi. İçeriden direktmen önüne gelene sıktığı gibi zaten ondan sonra öğrencilerin bağırmaları, öğretmenlerin bağırmalarıyla herkesin bir yere kaçması bir oldu. Ondan sonrasını göremedim. Çünkü çocuk içeriye girdi. Girdikten sonra zaten polis olsun, diğerleri olsun herkes geldi.
Absolutely crazy, y'all. But if you didn't read what the subtitles were saying, basically he entered the school. He immediately tried to fire. He pulled out his weapon, immediately tried to fire the pump action shotgun. They said 16 people were injured in total. I thought killed, but 16 people were injured in total. No fatalities have been reported from this incident. But he immediately started targeting anyone he could see. And he ended up losing his life by gunfire. So let's get over into this next one.
Breaking news in Turkey, where police say an 8th grade student shot and killed 9 people today. This marks the country's second school attack in just 2 days. Officials there say the student came to school with 5 weapons in his bag, walked into a class of 5th graders, and opened fire. At least 20 other people were injured in this attack. Turkish media says the shooter's father has since been detained. Today's shooting comes just 1 day after 16 people were wounded in a separate incident at a high school about 3 hours away. Security footage shows students running from the 18-year-old gunman in that shooting. These have been extremely rare in Turkey until this week. The country has strict gun laws which require licensing, registration, and mental and criminal background checks to get a gun. NBC News international correspondent Ralph Sanchez is following all of this from our London bureau today. So, Ralph, what more can you tell us about the victims in both of these attacks? And do authorities think at all that they are connected?
So, Vicky, authorities in Turkey just held a press conference on today's attack, raising the death toll to 9. They are saying 1 teacher, 8 students killed at that middle school in southern Turkey. And the shooter, Vicky, they say, is just 14 years old.
It's crazy, even with their strict gun laws that they have in Turkey. Things like this still happen. Is it as common as the United States? No, it's not, of course not. But it happens all around the world. And we got to ask what's the reason why? A lot of the times it's bullying. Bullying, and then Someone ends up getting a gun from their parents like they always do, and then coming to the school to shoot up whoever they can. Is the world we live in, is it our rules, our society? What is happening that's making kids want to do something like this? Or has it always been this way? Let's keep going though.
His father, a former policeman, had a number of guns in the house, and it seems that the shooter took 5 of those guns, 7 magazines, went to school, and as you said, walked into that classroom of 5th graders, opening fire there. The shooter is dead. Police say he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Not clear if he was deliberately killing himself or if this was something that happened in the chaos. But this is now officially, Vicky, Turkey's worst ever school shooting. And as you say, it comes just 24 hours after another shooting, also in southern Turkey, about 130 miles away. In that case, a high school student going into his former school and opening fire there with a pump-action shotgun. So a lot of terrified parents in schools all across Turkey today, Vicky.
Is this some kind of coincidence? 2 school shootings back to back. One a former student, one a current student. High school, middle school. What is happening?
Raf, it is so difficult to imagine what those families are going through. We do understand that school shootings are extremely rare in Turkey because of the strict regulation. How are authorities investigating this uptick in violence? What do they think it could be possibly related to or triggered by?
Yeah, Vicky, the tragic reality is school shootings are pretty rare in most of the world except the United States. Turkey, one of those countries where this just almost never happens. The country absolutely stunned. At this moment, there does not appear, as far as we can tell, to be any clear connection between the 2 shootings, but you can't rule out the possibility that one potentially inspired the other. Investigation underway into the backgrounds right now of both of the shooters, and we will try to find out more.
That's a crazy thing to think about, that a school shooting that happened inspired the other one to be like, yeah, it's my time to do the same thing. A middle schooler. They said his father was a former police officer. And he was able to take 5 guns and magazines to the school and kill 9 people. The deadliest school shooting in Turkey. Let's go over into this next video, and it's just the aftermath of all this. But you can see the chaotic look on some of the people's faces. This is something no one was expecting. Parents fighting. They want to see they want to find their children.
Bilmiyoruz. Çocuklar vurulmuş. Allah'ım sen.
Absolutely tragic. 9 students lost their lives, y'all. Let's get over into the AI breakdown just to get a little bit more information on this whole case. 2 school shootings back to back. So, as we know, in a rare and tragic wave of violence, Turkey experienced 2 separate school shootings within a 28-hour period on April 14th and April 15th of 2026. So we got the middle school. The deadliest of 2 incidents occurred at the middle school, secondary school, and I'm not even going to try to say the names because I'm going to butcher it. So we had 9 people who were killed, 8 students and 1 teacher. 13 others were injured, with 6 in critical condition. The suspect, or the killer, a 14-year-old 8th grader identified as, I'm not even going to try to say his name, he was reportedly used 5 handguns belonging to his father, a former police officer, which he smuggled into school in his backpack. The attacker died at the scene. It remains unclear if he intentionally killed himself or died amidst the chaos. They're currently investigating it to figure out any of his ideology. But the suspect's social media activity included imageries associated with incel ideology. Jesus. And if you don't know what incel is, look it up. But it's basically, they are, if I might be butchering with the meaning, but it's basically, they're upset because they're not attracted to, or the women are not attracted to them. They can't get a woman. They can't find women. Involuntary incels. That's what they like to say. And then we had the high school shooting, the first attack that took place the previous day. So we had at least 16 people were wounded, including the students and teachers. There was no reported fatalities. And then the shooter was a former student of the school. The shooter killed himself after being cornered by the police. So the Turkish ministry imposed a temporary ban on broadcasting traumatic images to protect the integrity of the investigation. Major educators union, including announced a nationwide 3-day strike starting April 15th to protest the inadequate school securities. Now remember, y'all, this is very rare. So school shootings are rare. Maybe someone should be there to protect against knife attacks, but this is not something that usually happens. It's only common. I wouldn't even like to say common, but it only usually happens in the United States. That's why they look at us like we crazy. So officials have pledged to increase their precautions with political proposals, including development of thousands of specialized sergeants as school security personnel. Absolutely tragic situation, y'all. 2 back to back. One might have inspired the other. But it can happen anywhere in the world. The question is, who are you going to hold responsible? You had 2 of them dead. Are you going to hold? Remember, they arrested the father in one of the cases. Are they going to hold him responsible for letting his kid get a hold of the gun? I think in both cases. Absolutely tragic situation, y'all. We got to pray for the people, pray for the family. 9 people have died. Could have been much, much more. Absolutely tragic.